Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars. Let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today, because right now on this 4-hour time frame, we continue to see this hidden bearish divergence play out in the chart. And if you watched yesterday's video, you know that I called out this hidden bearish divergence right here at about 66.6K. And in the case that you don't know, a hidden bearish divergence is actually when you have lower highs in the Bitcoin price and higher highs in the RSI momentum indicator. And typically what it means is that you will get a break from all of that bullish price action, and more likely is either some choppy sideways price action or even some bearish momentum. And of course, that bearish momentum is what we have seen so far. Now, in terms of invalidation, so when this is no longer active, is actually if you see the price trading above this previous high right here, sitting at about 67,000 US dollars. So now taking a look at this descending channel for Bitcoin, we continue to see this downtrend on the RSI momentum indicator actually continue on the daily time frame. And again, if you watched my videos recently, you know that I flipped much more bearish as soon as we broke below back inside this range again at about 70,000 US dollars. Now, what can we expect in the Bitcoin price over the next coming days or potentially weeks or so? Well, just taking a look at this, we are still basically just consolidating inside this pattern, meaning that it is possible we go to the top of this range sitting at about 70,000 US dollars, as well as the bottom of this range sitting at about 57,000 US dollars for the Bitcoin price. So of course, this isn't me saying we can go up or down, but I do just want to make clear here that with consolidation patterns like this, like for example, when we were trading up here and everyone was bullish, well, right here, everyone was bearish, right? And very few people expected this to actually play out because they weren't aware that Bitcoin was in this consolidation pattern. So zooming in a bit more to the short term here, what are the Fibonacci levels telling us? Well, right now, Bitcoin is actually on the exact Fibonacci level, sitting at about 65.2K. And as of right now, we are holding this as a level of support because we got a little bit of a bounce from there on the lower time frames. And here you can see something similar just recently. This was about a couple of days ago where we held this as a level of support. And of course, you know that we longed this move to the upside to about 67,000 US dollars before flipping bearish again. So, well, what can we expect now? Because we are basically in this predicament where we are on the very edge of this level of support. So what you need to look out for is this key price level sitting at 65.2K. Because if you see the Bitcoin price trading below, so dipping below and potentially even retesting this level, confirming that it is a level of resistance, well then likely we are going down much lower, for example, to this Fibonacci level right here, the 0.382 Fib level sitting at 63.2K, roughly speaking. And also I know that I still have this bullish divergence on the chart here, but this is actually invalidated because yes, the price didn't go below this trend line. However, the RSI did go below this trend line, therefore invalidating the bullish divergence, meaning that the door is now open again for more bearish momentum. Although one thing you must keep in mind here is actually that Bitcoin is trading in this big level of support, sitting from 66 all the way down to 65,000 US dollars. And so long as we are holding this level of support, it would be not too crazy to see another push to the upside here in order to potentially sweep some liquidity to the upside, which I will get to in just a second here. However, if you see Bitcoin trading below that 65K level, well, in that case, we are likely going much lower here. For example, I mean, there is some short-term support right here at about 64.4K, roughly. However, I do think it is more likely that we're going to this level right here at about 63.5K. If we get some very bearish price action here, even falling below this level of support, well, then the next big level of support below that is sitting from 62.4K all the way down to 60,000 US dollars for the Bitcoin price. And taking a look at the 24-hour Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we can see that there is actually a lot of liquidity to the downside, sitting at about that 65K level. And in the case that you don't know, typically the Bitcoin price gets attracted to where there is the most liquidity on this chart. So where there are the most yellow areas on this chart, and right now that is to the downside on this time frame, sitting at about 65K. Although we must keep in mind this liquidity right here to the upside sitting as high as 67.3K. So potentially, if we get that move to the downside, sweeping the liquidity at 65K, well then most of the liquidity will be to the upside once again on this time frame, and therefore could potentially send the price up for another leg to the upside, a small leg to the upside, to actually sweep that liquidity as well. And now zooming out to the 1 week time frame for these Bitcoin liquidation heat maps, right here you can see that again we have a lot of liquidity at about 67.4K, 3K roughly speaking, and then above that we have more liquidity, however not as much, sitting as high as 70.6K. So again, this could be a level that the price gets attracted to, although, as I was saying before, on the lower time frame, we also have a lot of liquidity to the downside that we must be mindful of, and therefore this Bitcoin liquidation heat map, these liquidation heat maps are just not giving us too much information before we actually sweep one of the big levels of liquidity, either to the upside or to the downside, to reveal where most of the liquidity after that point is actually sitting. Now, if you are new here and haven't joined the Discord server yet, I highly recommend you go check it out, because this is a very active community of people that are trading crypto every single day. Currently, we have about 800 members inside this community, and you can find the link to this with the first link in the description of this video. Now, moving on to Ethereum as well on this 4-hour time frame to start off with, because again, on these Fibonacci levels, we have this 0.786 Fibonacci level sitting at 4K. And then below that, we have the 0.618 Fibonacci level sitting at 3330. And a couple of videos ago, I actually confirmed this bullish divergence here on the 4-hour time frame, saying that it was likely we would get a break from all of this bearish price action that we were seeing at that time. And of course, after that, we got a nice pump to the upside. Although after I gave that warning signal in yesterday's video, we are now also seeing this bullish divergence on the 4-hour time frame actually invalidate, because the RSI is now trading below that trend line. So I guess you could technically say that maybe we have one more candle close to get back above that trend line, and this could maybe be like a little bit of a fake out or something like that. But for me personally, at least, this looks like the door to more bearish price action has just been opened, especially considering that the same has just happened for Bitcoin as well. And besides that, taking a look at this 4-hour time frame for the support and resistance levels, you can see that we got a perfect rejection from this level of resistance right here, sitting at 3650. And right after getting that rejection, we of course went straight into this level of support below that, sitting from 3530 all the way down to 3430. Although if you see Ethereum now trading below 3430, potentially even getting back inside and flipping it into a level of resistance, well, the next support level below that is going to be the 0.618 Fibonacci level that I was talking about earlier, sitting at 3330. However, below that, we have this big level of support sitting from 3250 all the way down to 3150 for the price of ETH. Although one thing to note is that if you see that bounce back to the upside and Ethereum actually clears above this 3650 level, well, then the next big level of resistance above that is sitting from about 3750 all the way up to $3,800 for the price of ETH. So those are some price levels that I'm paying attention to. Now moving on to Solana on the 4-hour time frame. And basically exactly what I talked about in yesterday's video played out, saying that you need to pay attention to this Fibonacci level sitting at $152, because this is the 0.382 Fibonacci level, which could act as a big level of resistance. And we perfectly traded up to that level after then getting this big rejection to the downside. So where are we now in terms of price and Fibonacci levels? Well, we are basically at the bottom here at this 0.236 Fibonacci level, sitting at $138. And you really need to see Solana hold this as a level of support, because after that, it just gets very shady. You do have this right here at about 115. This was the absolute low of this move to the downside here. Yeah, look, you obviously don't want to be even thinking about that unless you see this getting broken, in which case it would have some pretty bearish implications in the short term. Although I do want to make clear that I am still long-term very bullish on Solana. I do still think we are in a bull market here, and that at some point we are going to see a reversal to the upside with higher price action. We just don't really know when that is going to be. So now taking a look at this 4-hour time frame with the support and resistance levels for Solana. Solana is obviously at the very edge of this big level of support, sitting from 139 all the way up to $150. So that is important to pay attention to, because if you see something like this for Solana, trading below that $140 level, roughly speaking, well, in that case, likely we are going down to this next big level of support, sitting from 133 all the way down to $125 for the price of Sol. Although, of course, if you see that reversal starting to happen, well, in that case, we do need to clear above this high at about 152, which is also the Fibonacci level that I was talking about earlier. And then above that, you have these levels of resistance as well, sitting at $155 and $160. So those are some key price levels to pay attention to. This has been today's market update. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.